story, which is absolutely incredible. He's the one who hacked into U.S. websites, military websites, including NASA. Back to the moon for just a moment. So you say we went up there in 1962. What do you think the purpose was? Was it to begin mining or just to do more military work?
Well, we have a laser weapon on the moon. We have a lot of stuff up there. I don't know all that's up there, but the mining is the big thing. And you might wonder, who owns the mineral rights of the moon? Did you ever wonder that?
Good question.
Well, you'll find that 95% of the mineral rights on the near side of the moon and 50% of the mineral rights on the back side of the moon are owned by a group of 3 individuals. They're Americans. They've had it for 25 years. And in fact, this same group owns the mineral rights to most of the solar system. And you can check this out in the website or Google Universal Mineral Leases Registry, and you'll find their names. They're government contractors, some of them.
Are they
Dr. Joseph A. Resnick, Dr. Timothy R. O'Neill, and Guy Kramer. And they own all that. Now, how they got it, I don't know, but it's theirs.
I mean, did they have to write a huge check for this?
Apparently, they didn't have to write anything. But, just Google
Weird.
it.
Okay.
Google Universal Mineral Leases Registry, and those 3 names, Resnick, O'Neill, and Guy Kramer, and they all have little government little companies that contract stuff to the government. Now, there was a space treaty that said that nobody would own the mineral rights.
That's right.
No country. But apparently, there was nothing in it that said an individual couldn't own it.
So these 3 are out there. They're alive and kicking somewhere.
Absolutely. They're working. They've got companies, and they're the ones who hold all the rights.
That's incredible. I got to find them. I've got to find these people. Can you imagine if they are mining the moon, how much money they are making?
Yes. If it's helium-3, they could be making billions and billions. Now, we don't have, the capability, at least that we know of, to use helium-3. As a matter of fact, I was talking to Bob Lazar this evening, and he sent me an email. I said, "Can we use helium-3 right now?" He says, "No, it's kind of a future fuel. Once we get fusion reactors working and on an efficient basis, helium-3 would be a useful fuel. As of today, though, we have no fusion reactors, nor have we produced a sustained fusion reaction, or have developed the containment necessary to allow the reaction to continue without eventually destroying the magnetic or laser system."
So we could be just storing it up.
We could be storing it up, but the problem is that the plasma generator in the fusion reaction is as hot as the interior of the sun, and it's difficult to deal with stuff like that. It also generates neutrons, which destroy the matrix of metals, making them brittle and crumble after time, no matter how tough they are. So it's thought that a liquid metal would be better as a shield system, and liquid continually reseals itself as opposed to solid metal that retains and accumulates the neutron damage. Now, what we're looking there in our Aristarchus, that big, beautiful thing there, is probably a fusion reactor.
Is it possible that these structures on the moon might have been created by intelligent Earthlings millions of years ago? Looking at that old movie From Earth to the Moon, maybe we went to the moon 1,000,000 years ago. Maybe there was a very high advanced civilization and they set some of this up. Is that possible, John?
That's possible. We're told that that the Earth is the only habitable planet in the solar system, and it's not. All of them are habitable. All of them have people similar to us: Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto. They're all habitable things. And NASA calls them giant gas bags. But the only giant gas bag I know in our solar system is spelled NASA.
Now, if you're sitting down for this, Lex tells me he's done some quick research that 2 of the 3 players you mentioned about the mineral rights, Resnick and Kramer,
yeah,
he says they were involved with HAARP.
Oh, really?
Now, that's an incredible angle.
Yeah.
I mean, they're everywhere, these guys.
They're everywhere. And if Lex will Google moon mining, he'll just see how much stuff is on there. And, of course, NASA says we want to go back in 2020, and what we think is now they want to dovetail this in so that they won't be caught up there, mining. They get this thing together where, in 2020 we're going to go up there and mine the moon when it's already there. I don't know whether they don't want to be caught in the lie or what, but when I talked to somebody about this program, NASA's position was, look, John, we don't want to be called liars. If you could just say that we haven't been totally forthcoming.
He said they were on a couple of years ago with Art. We're going to check that and see what they had to say.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that could be an interesting
Excellent.
Maybe they were just talking about HARP. I don't think they were talking about their mineral rights on the
Well, they've had these mineral rights for 25 years.
So old Gary McKinnon decides to hack into some government websites and computers and realizes that he's looking for information about UFOs and extraterrestrials, and this guy could get 80 years. I guess he's got to be punished for something. He did break into our computer system, but I'm not sure 80 years is fair. But what do you think this guy was really hacking into?
He was just seeing what he could find, and what he found was a list of the Secret Astronaut Corps. The Secret Astronaut Corps was formed at the same time that the Public Astronaut Corps was formed. But the Secret Astronaut Corps were the ones that were going to the moon in 1962, and here we were just making suborbital flights and then finally an orbital flight.
So they had to shut him down very quickly.
Absolutely, because he has the goods there, and he's getting 80 years for what essentially I'm telling you.
NASA issued a report just a few months ago that said that JPL may be withholding and might have withheld information from us, from the public, and they've called for an investigation. I found that to be an interesting story.
I love it.
You have looked into the horrible tragedy of Apollo 1, where Grissom, White, and Ed Chaffee died. But you believe there was another astronaut involved. Tell me about that.
Right. That was the fourth thing. I forgot to tell you, the insider told me, is that he was there when it happened. And when the fire occurred, what happened is NSA, the National Security Agency, who control NASA, they went to the top of the gantry there, and they sealed off the area for 45 minutes, and they took that one body out. And what they didn't want anybody to know is that, first of all, that someone was there, and they wouldn't be able to tell who he was because he was part of the Secret Astronaut Corps. So they had to keep him. I had to keep the incident quiet forever and ever, and they paid off the family, and it's been a secret ever since, and it would still be a secret if I hadn't found out about it. So I started researching it, and, I got, one of my NASA insiders after, some liquid persuasion, and I got the name of the guy. So if anybody comes to me and says, I think I don't know who that was, say, what's his name? And then I'll know whether he knows or not who the guy was. Now, as you know, at the Bay Area Conference, when I gave my lecture, we had a question and answer period, and one of the relatives of one of the astronauts that burned in the fire got up and said, the story is true. We all knew there was a fourth astronaut killed in that fire. And people say, well, I've seen Apollo, there's no room. Oh, yes, there is. There's plenty of room down there. As a matter of fact, the Apollo head, I think his name was Bill Shea, was supposed to be in there that day, and for some reason he wasn't. But there's plenty of room down there not plenty of room, but there's room for a fourth guy to help through all those countdowns and some of the problems that happened.
Do you think the initial plans for the Apollos might have been to have 4 astronauts go all the time?
No.
Just the 3?
Yeah.
Well, what a shame, though. Definitely a tragedy. And again, the reason to cover it up is because it was the secret corps.
Right.
Jeez. I mean, John, how much of this has been going on, and for how long? I mean, it seems like there's every area of government where there's